But nonetheless, it says, let us be grateful for receiving a kingdom that can't be shaken. And thus, let's offer to God acceptable worship. Is there a sacrifice and worship that God is not accepting or pleased with? Okay, let me get back to the millionaire illustration. Where I was going with that, and I'm thinking about it now, was there are millionaire believers, okay, that think their main and only sacrifice to God is to just write checks to organizations and churches. And they think that that's the sacrifice God is interested in, okay? And it's almost like that excuses me to have a bitter heart as I give or a complaining heart as I give. And they're not as concerned about their heart and what they're thinking about the people they're giving to. They're just concerned with writing the check, sending it off. And was that a sacrifice? Partially. It costs you money, for sure. Did it honor God? Was your heart in that? Was your love and compassion and desire to see people benefiting and having their needs met, was that a part of your giving? But if you think that's, because God's not interested in your money, He's interested in your heart. And that's the big problem that we can really struggle with, is we think God is just interested in my mindless activity where my heart is detached, but I'm doing what He said. And I'm not going to say that your wrong heart negates the act entirely, but it just makes me think, was that really something that honors Him just because you went through the motions and did it? It's like sitting in Sunday, whatever church you go to, whatever day you guys meet. It's like I'm showing up, I'm planting my butt in the pew, I'm listening, I'm singing the songs, I took notes, and then I leave, and we check that off like, God, I did it. There's my sacrifice for Sunday. There's my sacrifice for Saturday. And your heart the whole time was not in anything that you were calling a worship or sacrifice. Hebrews 12:28. It says, therefore, since we have a kingdom that can't be shaken, let us be grateful. You know what I've been working on lately? Trying to be grateful. Waking up grateful. Going to sleep grateful. Ending each, activity of my day as best as I can with gratefulness. That will do a lot for your life. I promise you. That's hard. If I'm being honest. It's hard. It's not natural for me to be grateful. I have more reason to be grateful than I have to complain. But for some reason, complaining just comes so natural. Finding what's wrong with my life just comes so easy, But nonetheless, it says, let us be grateful for receiving a kingdom that can't be shaken. And thus, notice the connection between gratitude. Let's offer to God acceptable worship. Is there a sacrifice and worship that God is not accepting or pleased with? Absolutely. In fact, I had a bunch of scriptures I was going to go through. I'm not going to go through it. I'm actually going to save this for another series because I think it's going to need to be its own standalone series. But if you guys want the homework, here are the texts, meaning here are the passages of scripture. Isaiah chapter 1, verse 10 through 17. Haggai chapter 2, that's right, Haggai. I didn't just stutter. Haggai chapter 2, verse 13 through 14. Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 31. Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 20. Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 21 through 23. And Malachi 1, 6 through 14. All of those passages, and I mean all of them, make it very clear that God is not pleased with any old sacrifice or worship. Notice, look at the qualifying words. Let's offer to God acceptable worship. It's from a place of gratitude. It's with reverence and awe. For our God is a consuming fire. Meaning, He burns up the offerings on the altar, doesn't he? He's the fire that consumes and receives and accepts, like we see with Abel or Abraham or Noah or whoever else brought an animal sacrifice. Hebrews chapter 13 is another verse that talks about us offering gifts or worship. If I could break your categories for a minute, worship is more than, I'm not saying it's not, but it's more than your song. It includes the song. It includes the fruit of your lips. It includes singing his praises. But if you just define worship like that, you've given yourself license to live however you want as long as you sing the words on Sunday. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 15. It says, through Jesus, let's continually offer up sacrifices of praise to God. That is the fruit of lips that acknowledge his name. So is acknowledging God and his holiness and his character with our lips, is that praise and worship? Absolutely. But should I, what's the best way to say this? Should I add praise and singing to a life of darkness and evil? That doesn't seem like it goes together. Just like James will say, not you, James, James, the brother of Jesus, in his letter, he'll say, look, should cursing and blessing flow out of the same mouth? Right? That doesn't make sense. That's not fitting. So if you think of sacrifice and gifts as just praise, you're missing out on the main way God defines worship, which, as we're going to see, is with our life. And that does include the song. And I'm not at all trying to minimize the song, but what Christian culture has done is it said, hey, worship is primarily the song. So as long as you sing loud enough and passionately enough and cry hard enough in service or while you're driving, that excuses the life of sin you're living. You can have, in other words, it's like, as long as you sing the right words at the right time to God with the right passion, you can live however you want. It's like, bro, no. It's how you live. It's how you treat people. You choosing not to blow up on your son or daughter when you have every right to lose your temper, that's worship. Because what you're saying is, my God says to control my temper, to be compassionate and merciful and understanding. You're submitting your ways to his word. That's what pleases him. Now connect that lifestyle to praise and worship with your mouth. But if you just emphasize one over the other, you're living a life of imbalanced worship. It's incomplete. Worship is with the life, I would say, just as much as with the lips, if not more. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and do that and hit the bell so you can be notified of any future videos that come out. And check out AboveReproachMinistry.com. We have completely free Bible study courses, a 40-day program, a 27-day, and 11-day program, all kinds of free resources. You can get a copy of my book. You can join our online church. You can get some merch. We have a bunch of stuff at AboveReproachMinistry.com. And it's also linked in the description below. Go check that out. And thanks for watching.